Welcome to Mystara for a look at some of the richest organizations in the known world, the Guild Houses of Darokin. These are 9 guilds that have made Darokin the economic juggernaut that it is today, using every marketing ploy they could think of. Some of them are bitter enemies, others are tied at the hip. While compared to Minrathad, they're almost squeaky clean. They will not hesitate to use all sorts of semi-legal tricks to maintain their hold on the economy of the Republic. I'm Mr. Welch, and today we are investing in the Guild Houses of Darokin. Darokin owes its current form of government to the merchant houses. After its monarchy failed, the nation almost splintered as various powerful merchants claimed a stake in the different parts of the country. However, without national unity, the different parts of Darokin would be easy pickings for other nations or even bandits and warlords. To keep the nation together, the most powerful guild houses came together in 927 AC and hammered out a working covenant that preserved the nation and kept the guilds in power, but made it all but impossible for one interest to take control of the government. That the various merchant houses set aside their old grudges and accomplished the task is impressive. That they did it without bloodshed is nothing short of a miracle. By law, there's exactly 9 great houses, as determined by the latest Great Reckoning. There are numerous minor trade houses, and the jockeying for the newest great house can get dangerous. Great houses are given a better shot at governmental contracts, and are frequently used to represent Darokin in foreign trade missions. They also have more of their members in government positions. To outsiders, the guild houses and the government are the same entity, a misconception the more powerful guild houses don't try to correct. The houses are typically tied to a specific family, and the positions of power in most houses are held by their descendants of the original founders. Many of the houses were founded centuries ago, but no longer resemble their original business model. The sheer size and scope of Darokin and its economy forced the original guilds to diversify. It's hard to corner a market when the commodities are scattered across 1,000 miles. The guilds tend to be more geographically centralized. It's easier to control a regional market than a national one. The larger houses are represented across the nation. However, their grasp on individual cities or domains aren't as powerful as a more localized guild house. In ascending order of power, you first have Tony House, which is centered on Lake Amsarak. It concentrates on moving goods from the ports of Akasoli and Akaros, but also supplies the smaller towns of Letizia, Bronzedale, and the forts Lakeside and Anslebury. They're found in the markets of Glantry, which isn't exactly fond of outsiders, and they have the most access to the Bear clan of Etrugan. Their primary exports are different types of meat, furs, and porcelain, and they import luxuries like coffee and tobacco. Tony is an older house, but its status as a great house is fairly new. They're proud of their newfound prestige, and they're doing everything they can to hold on to it. There's thousands of smaller merchant houses in Darokin, and all it takes is one bad season for Tony House to fall back into the ranks of the lesser houses. Mendel Callister, the head of the house, is using his newfound power to increase the image of Tony House in the eyes of the other great houses. Franwich House, to compare, is the youngest of the great houses, founded only 63 years ago. Arturo Franwich is the son of the original founder, and he is the driving inspiration for his house's success. Franwich is headquartered in the capital of Darokin City, but it's spread across the entire nation. Franwich has no specialty. They will buy and sell any commodity. Their strategy is to be the second best in every market. They rely on quantity over quality, making sure their goods are always available no matter where you shop. Franwich goods are seen as low-cost, reliable, and ever-present. They have caravans filled with their merchandise that make a point to stop at every settlement, town, and trading post to make sure they carry at least one Franwich-made item. They will also sell their goods at a discount to the larger houses looking to fill a caravan, thus spreading their brand to other markets on the wagons of other merchants. This makes Franwich one of the most recognizable guilds abroad. Al-Azrad, as you can tell by the name, originated in Yalarim, where its founder was a rather successful merchant before he migrated to Darokin in 853 AC to increase the number of the available markets. It was a decision his family will never regret, as the fortunes of Al-Azrad House exploded after the relocation. It still does the vast majority of its business in Yalarim, bringing exotic goods like coffee and purebred horses, and returning to Yalarim with the variety of trade goods only Darokin can produce. They don't have a lot of business in western Darokin because of the distances involved, but the house has taken steps to increase their reach. They are partnered with the much larger Halanica House, as well as an enormous number of lesser houses to transport their goods to other areas. Al-Azrad rarely takes its own goods west of Salonika, instead unloading its caravans there and selling its good to the other merchant houses who have a market waiting for the Yalari products. Al-Azrad acts as a middleman in this regard, and it's kept them in the black for centuries. Umbarth House is located primarily out of Akasoli, which would normally isolate them, but they also maintain locations in Darokin City and several trading posts near Alfheim. Umbarth's primary targets are Glantry and Ethengar, but they dominate the trade between Alfheim and Darokin. It's no secret that the Umbarth family has several elven ancestors, and it's not uncommon for an elf to be born into the house proper. There's no shame in this, it's just a matter of course for the Umbarths. Umbarth does business with more nations than any other merchant house, but not at the same volume. They prefer to establish contacts with the neighboring lands and then sell them to a customs house as soon as they enter the other nation, and then return for more goods. As such, Umbarth goods rarely have a long reach into other nations, but the foreign merchants looking for Darokin goods know where they can find the goods so they can turn them around in the central markets and make their fortune. Penny Down is unusual for a great house as they concentrate their trade inside of Darokin itself, rarely in foreign markets. They are also the great house with the most stores directly owned, leading to the other great houses to derogatorily refer to them as the Retail Guild. Despite the criticism from their rivals, Penny Down has made a point to have a general store located in all major cities, and most minor ones. For the settlements that are too small to support a Penny Down store, there are regular merchants that bring wagons of merchandise through, and they've even started a catalog service. Penny Down is one of the best known of the guild houses in Darokin because they are everywhere they could possibly be. It's easier for the other houses to sell their goods to Penny Down, who will then gladly put them on the shelves of their stores. While this means less profit for the other houses, it's also far more convenient for them to move products that are niche or require extra work to get to market. If you sell it to Penny Down, it will end up on a store shelf somewhere. Corrin House is forever tied to the city that they founded centuries ago, Corrin Glen, or Corrin's Glen originally. They are located dangerously close to the Broken Lands and have had to rebuild Corrin Glen more than once because of orc attacks. The house mostly deals with domestic trade, taking the goods from the surrounding areas down the Streel River into Darokin City and then across the nation by caravan. Corrin House is one of the most politically active of all the houses, with at least one chancellor coming from their number. The house's contracts with Glantry provide them with a surplus of coin, especially with the number of captured monsters coming from the Broken Lands. Their ability to hold off raids coming from Thar's Legion give them a solid reputation among the citizens of Darokin, something the house is sure to capitalize on when needed. Halanica rules eastern Darokin. They've been the dominant house in the region for years. Anything coming from the west goes through Halanica trade houses. Imports from eastern nations like Thiatis or Vestland are brought to the rest of the nation through Halanica caravans. Despite their domination of half the country, they're on friendly terms with most of the other guild houses. They know their wealth is dependent on their cooperation with the other great houses, so they prefer to create mutually beneficial deals to share it. They are currently tied to the hip with Allah's Rod House, moving Yalari goods from the Emirate into Salonika, and then taking the goods and moving them further into Darokin. Allah's Rod will trade for goods that Halanica has acquired from the other houses. Halanica serves as a middleman for the different houses, and takes a cut of every bit of cargo moving from one side of the nation to the other. The money flowing to Halanica in this way is just considered the price of doing business for Darokin merchants. Linton House is the only house that directly competes with Menrathad in terms of maritime trade. The house operates out of the port city of Athenos, bringing Darokin goods to Irendi, the turtle clan of Etrugan, and markets even further away. It's also one of the most dangerous routes to take, as Menrathad does not brook competition on the open seas. The threat of attack is worth it, as travel by ocean gets the goods to market far quicker, and more importantly, before rival house goods are available for sale. Linton is one of the least politically active of all the more powerful houses. It's not that they don't have the influence, but they know the less power they use, the more impact it has when they do speak up. The other houses know that Linton is incredibly wealthy, connected, and more importantly, competently led. If Linton doesn't want something to proceed, they will quietly pull strings to make it go away. The other houses know this, and instead of forcing Linton's hand, they will check with them before acting. Monty has been the most powerful of all the Darokin guild houses for centuries. None of the others have even come close. A Monty was selected as chancellor 4 out of the first 6 times an election was held. The house has members in high positions of government. The current chancellor is a Monty. They're based out of Darokin City, but they're represented all over the country to ensure their house knows about current events across the nation. Monty is not the most powerful house because it's the richest. It's the most powerful house because it's the most innovative. They initiated the practice of profit sharing with the various caravan drivers after a successful run, something that caused the better caravan drivers to take jobs with Monty House. They offered positions to demi-humans and on occasion intelligent monsters that offered a special talent that benefited the house. They reformed the contracting process for merchant agreements and spearheaded the Certified Letter of Credit program. These ideas made Monty popular, and their popularity made them powerful, and the money flowed after that. The merchant houses are background fluff. They're something to tell your players when they try to buy something. These organizations can be employers or targets for robbery. If you need an adventure hook, you will always have a merchant house somewhere in the background. It's the little details that make a setting come alive, and more importantly, it keeps the DM from having to think on the fly. Next week is the 250th episode of Welcome to Mystara, so I'm going to be doing something special, and that's going to be reading the entire revised 1005 War on Both Sides timeline. After much correcting, I'm ready to present it again with fewer continuity problems, no extinction-level planet-killing meteor, and player agency when it comes to what happens to all the nations that got wiped out without even an adventure hook. Hard to believe I've been doing this for over 3 years, but here we are, right? The trick is coming up with 250 more topics. But until then, remember, I love money. Yes, I do.